Hello, friends. Welcome to this podcast on E2 visas today. I am Isol Verdin. For those of you who have not followed me before, I am a licensed immigration lawyer specialized in all types of immigration law, but I am board certified by the Texas Board of Specialization in the area of immigration nationality law. I practice out of Dallas, Texas, but I serve clients throughout the U.S. and clients that approach me from around the world. So one of the areas that I focus on in my particular practice is E2 visas. So I wanted to begin a series of podcasts for my audience on E2 visa specific concepts that have been proven to be successful over the years amongst my clients, and give my listeners the ability to kind of go deep into each particular type of concept or industry that I've consulted on and advised on over the years, so they can get a sense of just the different dimensions, the different aspects of what it takes to process an E2 visa and be successful with it. And I'll remind my audience that every case is individual. Please do not assume that everything that I say here is going to be 100% applicable to your specific facts. Many times, one difference in a situation, one particular detail can make a big impact. So you always want to seek the counsel of experienced lawyers to help you in your path to your E2 visa. Okay, but what I'm going to provide here today will be a roadmap to a particular type of E2 visa project. And today I will be speaking on E2 visas for real estate investors. And there's different types of investments in the real estate industry, in the real estate space. So I think it's probably a good idea that we break them up into different segments. And today's focus will be on those investors that focus their strategy on acquiring real estate and holding it, managing it for leasing, for rentals. So essentially for landlords. So this E2 visa podcast will be focused for those foreign real estate investors that are seeking E2 visas by acquiring real estate with the intent of leasing out that real estate. So let's get down to brass tacks. So get into the details. So the E2 visa, first, the individual, not every foreign national will qualify for an E2 visa. So you first have to analyze whether your country has a treaty with the United States. So that's step one. And you can find this list at the U.S. State Department website. Just do a Google search for E2 visa treaty countries, and you'll find a long list of 40, 60 countries that have a treaty with the U.S. So please do not assume that you automatically qualify for an E2 visa, because it's possible that your country does not have a treaty with the U.S. Now, many countries do, but not all. So please ensure that your country of nationality qualifies. So that's essentially step number one. Now, step number two would really be to assess the source of your investment. So where are you going to get the money, the capital, to invest in the U.S.? Because this, in essence, is an investor visa, so you need to invest capital to qualify for the E2 visa. So remember that the U.S. government is going to be very interested to ensure that your money source is a legal one. So the laws are very detailed and preventing and prohibiting that the source of the capital is derived from some criminal activity, right? So make sure that you can justify and document the source of your investment. Now, what are different types of sources? Over the years, I've seen many, many sources. And remember, as long as it's legal, we can do it. So common sources include selling assets in your home country. So let's say you have real estate or land, raw land that you sell in your country, or some commercial property, you sell it, and you can use those funds because you can clearly show that you own those properties. So you have to present your title and the selling documents that you sold those properties, and that the funds came into your personal possession, and that you are then transferring those funds into the U.S. enterprise. So that's one example. Another source of investment could possibly be selling a business. So you would sell a business, again, show the paperwork, the paper trail showing that you're selling a business and the funds are coming to you. I've seen money come from sources from an inheritance. You're inheriting money. Other sources, I've seen somebody win the lottery in their home country. They were lucky enough to win the lottery. I've seen people receive a gift from their family. Let's say you have wealthy parents and you receive a gift from your father, your mother, and they're gifting you those funds to invest in the U.S. You could borrow the funds. So if you have a loan, and here's where we can kind of dissect a little bit more, because loans, it depends what type of loan you are using to obtain your capital. So if you have an unsecured loan, that's usually not a problem. You just have to document the unsecured nature of the loan. If it's secured, you have to secure that loan with personal assets. So let's say you're secured by a mortgage on your personal property overseas, and then you obtain the funds through a bank. Some financial institution is lending you and securing their loan to you through security in your personal property. That's allowed. I've seen many clients earn their money over the years. They save their money. So this is earned income that is saved over the years. And here the best way to document this is just a personal declaration, maybe some tax returns for the recent tax years to show your source of investment, that you've earned it over the years. Okay, so assuming you have your paperwork in order to justify the source of your investment, and then you like the idea of investing in the United States to acquire real estate assets. And you like the idea of buying some tangible asset that you can see and touch, and you want to invest your family's wealth into those capital investments, those real estate assets. So, and you ask yourself, can you obtain an E2 visa through this? So the answer is maybe yes, if you structure it correctly. So once you identify your strategy that you want to invest in real estate, you have to decide what your ultimate strategy is going to be. So today's discussion will be on those investors that want to buy, hold, and lease those real estate assets. Okay, let's get to it. So you've decided that you want to invest in real estate, buy and hold, lease out your properties. So first step would be to form a corporation in the state of your choosing. You can choose to incorporate anywhere. I've seen clients have assets in multiple states, but they incorporate in a specific state of their liking, that whatever state that they ultimately want to live in, or really it could be other states. Some states allow you to incorporate in their area without having to live there. So you have some options like Delaware, Nevada. You have some flexibility. Texas, a lot of people choose Texas because there are no real estate. There are no state income tax at the local level. At the individual income level, there's no state income tax. So there's some benefit there. But again, talk to your CPA, your accountants, and listen to them. Tax attorneys, they can advise you, or corporate lawyers, they can advise you very well on which jurisdiction to incorporate in. So once you incorporate, then you will apply for your federal employer identification number through your corporation. Then you'll open up your corporate account. Then you'll transfer your assets. I recommend seeking counsel from immigration, experienced immigration lawyer at this point, so you can know how to transfer the best way to fund your corporate account, how to route the money, the pathway into the corporate account. So don't try to do everything on your own and then seeking the counsel. Start with the counsel first. It is prudent to listen to the counsel of many experts before you engage in actions. There's a lot of money at stake, and you can lose a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort if you try to do things without seeking counsel first. Okay, so this is prudent. So assuming you follow the most efficient way of getting the money into your corporate account, well, then you can begin to deploy your capital from your corporate account into your real estate assets. Now, is it prudent to just buy one piece of property, rent it out? Probably not. It's probably not going to be enough because remember, you have to show the whole idea behind the E2 visa is to come to the U.S. with the intent of developing and directing a business, not simply to buy a passive investment, just collect rent from a property. That's not going to be enough. That's not a business. Okay, that's just an investment. That is not an operation of an enterprise. You're not developing anything that way, right? So one acquisition under your corporation is not going to be sufficient to buy and lease it out. I have seen success with clients that have bought and leased out a portfolio of 6-7 properties. I haven't done it with less than 6 properties to lease out for a strict landlord operation. Now, in a different segment in the future, I will talk about remodeling and flipping properties. That's a different business model. Here, I am speaking specifically about buying land, buying property, and leasing it out as a landlord, okay? Now, you could choose to diversify your real estate company, which is prudent if you don't have substantial assets. But again, today's conversation, today's topic are for those individuals that have significant assets to buy and that they desire to hold a portfolio of properties to lease out. And we do help individuals like that. Again, I've seen 6-7 properties being held under the portfolio, and those have been successful for the E2 visa. So you make the case that the amount of time, which is true, the amount of time to manage that portfolio of properties is substantial, and it's going to require a lot of work and coordination to properly and efficiently and productively put those properties to work and manage tenants in those properties. So essentially, you're creating your own property management company. You're holding and you're managing properties in your portfolio, okay, for yourself, for your own properties that you own through the corporation. Now, I have my clients that I've had in particular have not had employees. They have not had employees with that business model. And what we've done, we've argued successfully to the government, to embassies around the world, different ones, albeit, all over the world, that the entity does not require employees because the concept is operating with the assistance of independent contractors and not employees. So the central core company, the E2 enterprise, is contracting other contractors or companies to assist in the operation. For example, you can imagine, for those of you actively in real estate at the moment, you know that to manage properties, you need handy people, right? You need handymen to fix things that break on a regular basis. You need plumbers, you need electricians, you need painters, you need landscapers. I mean, you got to pay a landscaper every week when in some areas of the country where you got to maintain a property, taking care of the lawn and irrigation people, all sorts of experts that you need to support your portfolio of properties. So it's not a one-man show here. So you're going to be managing a team of contractors, and especially when you're doing deeper renovations to the property, or some damage. Let's say a roof breaks or it leaks. You got to get a roofing company. You got to manage that project. So it requires time, effort to manage people, and you make the argument that even though you don't have employees, W-2 employees under your company, that you are creating a benefit to the U.S. economy by producing generating enough income and work for others that you are stimulating the economy. You're helping USA with your company. So this is the argument that you make, and this is why the company is not marginal, because you do have to show that it's not a tiny company. That's why I was telling you earlier, if you come in with one or two properties, three properties, it's going to be harder to make the case that you are not marginal, because you're not really benefiting a lot of the economy. You're not stimulating the economy with that, all right? Even though we know it costs money to manage even one or two, but to have more impact, you're gonna need a bigger portfolio of properties if you're gonna buy and lease. Remember, this topic is just for landlords, and whether you can qualify for an E2 with that strategy. And there are other real estate strategies, so I encourage you to listen to our other podcast on real estate investors that are focused on either construction or development or remodeling, flipping. There are different real estate strategies that individuals can deploy to obtain an E2 visa, but this one is just for landlords. So it is possible to get an E2 visa as a landlord, and I encourage those individuals that want that strategy to seek it. And most individuals that are in this category are investing. I mean, if you're talking about 5-6 properties, you're probably investing somewhere north of $1 million to $2 million. Now, there are some areas where if your strategy is to buy condos or smaller property, you probably invest under $1 million for smaller condos in some areas of the U.S. Right? There are states still where you can find properties under $75,000, under $60,000 for a one-bedroom, condo. So I mean, you can imagine. So I think volume again is like if you have 5-6 properties, really it doesn't matter their value. So if you can find some good deals, you could apply for the E2 visa. Okay. So again, I encourage everyone who is interested in E2 visas to speak to counsel that has experience in this area. Traditionally, I found historically that a lot of lawyers will shy away from the E2 in real estate model because it's hard to make the case if you don't know the industry that it's active, that it's an active business, and people assume that it's just a passive industry. But if you're in it to make money, if you're in it to grow your real estate company, it's not passive. It requires a lot of work and effort. So your job is to convince the consular officer or USCIS that this is going to take effort, it's going to take sweat, it's going to take time and expertise to make a successful business that's going to grow. So I encourage you to, if you're interested in that, to seek it and go for it. And worst case, you have some real assets. You're not investing in a speculative business. I mean, yes, every investment is risky, and you should consider your investment in detail. There's different aspects beyond the immigration. You want to consider tax consequences, just business cycle, interest rates, obtaining financing. All these things are relevant. Now, once you get your E2 visa, you can get creative with your sources of capital. You could, borrow money. You can borrow more money. You can get partners and investors. You always have to retain control of the entity, but you have some flexibility once you obtain your E2 visa as to how you want to grow your company, right? So I encourage you to explore your options if you're interested in this. All right. So again, E2 visas for real estate investors that want to become landlords and lease out properties. That strategy is viable if you carefully craft your presentation and the way you generate the way you organize your evidence, the way you structure your entity, the way you argue that this is a real and operating business. Okay? It's a real pleasure working with my real estate investors. For me, it's very interesting to see how business people from around the world think. There's a lot of similarities in cultures when it comes to business, but then there's some interesting differences which are always fun to observe and to learn from. I'm a student of my clients, and how they do business, and I'm always learning new things. So it's a pleasure to serve them. I encourage you to reach out to expert immigration counsel on this, because the E2 visa is complicated, and there are specialists that work on this more than others, just because immigration law is so broad. There are so many visa types. There's almost a visa for each letter of the alphabet. That's how many visas there are. And then there's other immigration issues like asylum and deportation and family issues and all sorts of immigration subspecialties. And the E2 is one of those that you don't want to mess around with, because there's so much money at stake here. You want to do it right. So I encourage you to seek expert immigration counsel that has experience with E2 visas. Best wishes to you, my audience, my friends. I wish you the best. You know where to reach us if you have questions. Always a pleasure to be speaking to you on this topic. Good day. Bye-bye.